All right, so we'll redo the whole fucking thing. Welcome back to the Hot Sauce MMA show in partnership with 2.5 Fighters, with Emilio Greco, head trainer at KickFit or owner at KickFit. What is it?
No, man, Pat Galucci is the owner, and I'm just a striking coach, just a kickboxing striking coach there. But Pat Galucci he's the owner. He's the man that does all the financials, everything that you can do to run the gym. That's him. That's his job, and I'm just there to help out with the young upcoming fighters who want to get there.
And does it look like the gym's going to be okay when everything is open? And
well, now what we're trying to do now, because it looks like even on Saturday morning, I had a couple of my boys and we actually trained. You know, we trained outside. We did mitts, we did bag. We ran about 2 kilometers. Prior of rounds. So we put in some work in now. I know he's doing some stuff in, and we're just trying to get the confirmation that if we could do pads and sparring, and we could do it outside in a safe setting with a numerous amount of people, we get done. And by this week, we should find out. And if we get the green light, then it should be all good for the outdoors. And for the indoors, we don't know how long it's going to take for the facility to be open. But in the meantime, for outside, just for everybody, this is a train. I know a couple of promoters and promotions are trying to at least get in there and try to see an event in maybe the end of the year or 2021. But for the fighters who want to make waves, like, this is the time to train. Like unlike us, we're eating and whatnot, but they got to be on the grind. They got to get up. They got to do what they got to do, because 4 months, 5 months of doing nothing, it really is a factor to you. I didn't do anything for 3 months. Now I started training again. It's like okay, like,
it's rough.
Yeah, it's like, wow, like, I didn't know I was like this bad, but we're getting back into it, and hopefully everything is gonna be good.
Everything becomes a little bit slower when you come back.
No, yeah, 100%.
It's like you're like, oh fuck. It's like, it's usually when you can do an hour, you at half an hour, you're like, okay, I want to go home and play Zelda. My girlfriend's playing Zelda on N64 right now. And
nice.
As soon as she's done, we're gonna play. I'm gonna kick her ass in this.
Woo! 007. That's old school. That's old school.
I bought on Amazon WCW versus NW Revenge, so I'm waiting for that.
Wow.
One. That's the best game of all time.
Wow.
So there was the fights this weekend, UFC at Apex. You had a chance to watch them. Overall, What did you think of the card? What did you think of the event?
Well, if you're looking at it as I just like a typical fan, you're looking at the card, you're like, okay, well, this is like super, like, why would I even like waste time watching it? But obviously, it's only live sports. Like, you gotta watch it for a fight fan like us. There was besides Woodley and Dern, there's a lot of very interesting fights on that. There was Antonina Shevchenko, to see how she was going to do with a ranked opponent. Mackenzie Dern just came back after her pregnancy.
Yeah.
There's a couple of guys, Edwards. A couple of these prospects coming up in the game that was very interesting to watch too. So the cards, man, a lot of finishes. The main event, I think probably 2 decisions. There's a lot of finishes on that card. So that's the type of card you like, that there's not a lot of no names, but that's where you gotta kind of show up. And usually with those cards, you see a lot of finishes.
It's with these cards, you see usually all these no namers trying to find their place in the UFC, and it wasn't a stacked card to the point where you had names, but there was a lot of good fights on the card. You mentioned Mackenzie Dern. I wanted to talk about her fight. Obviously, she looked great as usual. She improves to 8-1. What do you think about her? Is she a contender or pretender? Is she on the right path? What do you think?
Well, you saw in the beginning of the match, like, she was getting outstruck. She was getting pretty much dominated in kind of the early goings, and then for some reason you decided to take Dern down. Now that's what got me nervous. Like, you're dominating. This is what you have to do against a Brazilian jiu-jitsu champion in Dern. You have to beat her up on top, make her get tired, which she was like getting flat-footed. She was wobbling. So that was the opportunity you got to make, that a potential finish was in the horizon. There was no reason of bringing down a Brazilian jiu-jitsu champion, and you saw
a lethal champion.
Yeah, and you saw what happened. It was perfect. As soon as it went to the ground, it was like the fight just reset. They put the time back. It just started, and okay, go. And you saw what happens. That's how good Dern is on the ground. Now, for her being a contender, I could see it. Like, Ronda for so long was just arm bars, arm bars, arm bars. So you see it possible. But now in this new era, you kind of have to evolve your game. She has to have at least some bases in striking. And now we saw there, she kind of doesn't have any. Try and make her go against, like we were even talking about, look at the top 5. Look at Rose, look at Zhang, look at Joanna. Like, she has no chance. Look at Michelle Watterson. Like, these are people that, like, she has no chance against striking. And now you have to pray for you going on the ground. I don't think so. I think she got lucky that her opponent brought it to the ground, but then you see what kind of caliber fighter she is when it hits there.
When it hits the ground, I don't think there's anybody better than Mackenzie Dern in that division and women. I mean, obviously I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, and I've been watching her kill everybody for years and years and years and years. Her dad is a legend. She was dating another world champion, Augusto Mendez, who's a fighter also. And she has that pedigree, man. She's so good. I knew as soon as it went to the ground, it was going to be over. And she cracked that knee bar. It was so nice the way she set it up. And
first one in women's history, too.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, fuck. I'm a huge fan of Mackenzie Dern. Obviously, she needs to clean up the striking. We saw her get exposed a bit in her last fight when she lost. It was her first loss against Amanda Ribas. She's got it, man. She has something. She has like she's a salesman's dream, right? She'll be able to make a lot of money because she's pretty, she's good, she's nice, she's not controversial. She has it, like the it factor kind of thing. If she cleans up that striking, you can tell that she's only been doing it for about maybe 3 years, about boxing. And as soon as she cleans it up, like you said, I think she'll be fine. But it's hard for me to see her get to a title shot and win when there's all those killers you just named waiting for her.
Yeah.
The strawweight's not a fucking weak division for women,
Not anymore. Not anymore.
It's probably one of the most stacked divisions in the UFC. If you think about it, like if you look at like the top 5, and for her to be able to start cracking the top 5, I think it's gonna be super tough for her. But who do you think is next for her? Who would you put in there?
Man, it's tough. Honestly, a good fight at the moment. Maybe depending, how hurt she was, but Angela Hill is a pretty good fight. Angela Hill is very consistent. She wants to fight again. She came out of a loss. Mackenzie Dern with that win, and Angela Hill is very durable. She's a former Invicta champion. She got robbed against Claudia. I found that she won that fight, and that's an interesting fight if Angela Hill doesn't say no to anybody. She's down for whatever. So I think that makes sense. And if Dern could beat her, then right there, then we're gonna see kind of the styles. If she has that, championship mindset, that I would find that's a great fight for her.
Yeah, Angela Hill for me that'll be a sick fight too. Especially Angela Hill standing up, she's good on the ground, not so much, and vice versa for Mackenzie Dern. So we saw the main event. We saw our boy Tyron Woodley versus Gilbert Burns, and in Woodley fashion, snooze fest. And it sucks because he's such a good fighter, but he just doesn't show it. It's like he has one game plan, and it's just back up. He fights like he's always in a lead, always. He fights like he's always just trying to win a scorecard, and then he'll complain.
Yeah, all the time. And it was weird too because like you saw like he got dropped and he never went to any combinations, and we were saying before, like he looked good, and it's always been that thing, like his legs are so thick. Yeah. Like when he throws a leg kick, it's serious. How did you throw about 3 leg kicks in the entire fight? It doesn't make any sense. And how, as a former world champion, and you're claiming that you're the best welterweight of all time, and your only move was a 1-2? How does that make any sense? That you didn't throw, you weren't even trying to hide it. You weren't even trying to go for a hook, an uppercut. Yeah, not even like a faking, a takedown. Switching levels as the great wrestlers do. There was nothing he did that was even close of trying to even win a second in that fight. It was very disgusting. It was disgusting to see a guy like him to fight like that. And now like you're going about it. Oh, now Burns is contender. Is he really a contender? No. Because the guy he fought against wasn't Woodley. That's not Woodley. That's not a former champion. That's not a guy who has that number 1 right next to him. It makes no sense. That shouldn't be next to Woodley's name.
Burns has another 2 or 3 fights left in him, but for Woodley, before he gets a chance, but for Woodley, what does he do now? I mean, does he not focus on his rap career? Does he stop focusing on TMZ? Does he just start fighting? And maybe he needs to realize that he isn't perfect, And his entire career against Wonderboy the draw, he complained. That was a loss for Woodley to me.
Mhm.
And then he fights Wonderboy again, split decision. And then who did he beat after that? Then he loses to Usman.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like who are you a real champion? Okay, you killed Lawler, fine. You killed Koscheck. You had these highlight knockouts, but he's such a counter fighter that when you get to that level of like some guys that aren't going to play your game, you know, and they're not going to just come after you and start throwing and wait for you to destroy them. And that's what happened with Burns. Burns played his cards right. He knew exactly what was going to happen. Just walk him down, make him lose points, jab when you have to, push him up against the cage. It was a good game plan for Burns, but he's far from a contender for me.
No, and then you look at that too. You look how Woodley, from where he started and where he is now, and then after you, at the beginning, a lot of people were kind of like maybe conflicted with Usman and a couple of guys in the division. But then you see like what happened, like where Woodley is. You're like, well, compared to Usman, like he pushes the pressure, he takes you down. He'll make it an interesting fight, like with him and Colby. Like there's no takedowns in that fight. He made it interesting, and like that was the thing with Woodley. Like Woodley was never entertaining. He was never a go forward fighter. He was a counter fighter, and like we hear it all the time with the Anderson Silva times. Like the most boringest fight was with Cote and Maya, where they didn't attack him. You know what I mean? But like at least now we can't complain with Usman and other guys that we thought were boring. Woodley's the boring fighter. Woodley is the guy that former champion. But he's not going to be in that, that Rushmore of great welterweights.
Well,
he's not going to be in there.
Better than GSP, and I was like, listen, I mean, as much as I didn't really like how he is in the media and stuff, I was like, okay, but he's a decent fighter. He's a good fighter, But now, I'm not that he's not. Obviously, he's still a good fighter, but compared to me, this Fatso and Villarreal sitting on his couch. but just to say is that he's. It's just that I think he thinks he's better than he actually is, and that he doesn't have to do certain things. And he went on Instagram Live after, and he was thanking all his fans and his supporters. And Dylan Dennis, I'll talk about him again. This guy's classic. He's like, I've been missing some sleep lately, so maybe and I just found out that Woodley's fighting tonight. Thank God, I'm gonna get some rest. And it was true that he's fucking boring, and it was a snooze fest. I was almost falling asleep at my buddy's house. We're watching the fights. So for Gilbert Burns, what's next for him? I mean, he cracks that top 7 now. What do we do with him?
Not a title fight. They've been saying like maybe a potential title fight. He's not there yet. And like I said, this is a Woodley that it wasn't kind of a deserving title fight. If Woodley would have shown up and it would have been a different fight and he would have won in a different way, or at least even finish it, maybe put you up there, somewhere in the mix. But now you got to look at it. Okay, now he could face just a top 5. Now any fight in the top 5 would just make sense. Now just see who's available. Usman and Masvidal, it's getting into it, but then Masvidal wants an 8. Colby's there in the mix. Colby's a very interesting fight for that too. That's a really fun fight. We just got to look at that. Any fight makes sense because you beat Woodley, but he just deserves to hit a top 5 guy. That's it. A title fight, no. A number 1 contender spot, I don't think so. Just anybody in the top 5, and depending how the fight goes, then that's where you could talk about maybe potential fight, but a potential title fight. But for now, he's deserving of a guy who has a high number. That's the only thing that he kind of deserves from that fight.
We have top to bottom. We have Usman the champion, Woodley wherever he falls. We have Leon Edwards. We have Colby. Till went to middleweight. We have Burns now. He's being thrown in the mix. Masvidal. So to me, a Burns has to fight a Colby. Colby is the best matchup. I think it's good for both of them. Colby, he looked good against Usman, but it was maybe he was a little bit too early for him to get to that championship level. So I think Burns and Colby will be a good one. I think Colby will mop the floor with Burns, realistically. But it'd be a good test for Burns. If Burns can have a good, exactly. Or maybe Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards, I mean, he's been calling out Masvidal, and we saw what happened with a 3-piece in a soda. But I don't know about him too. Like he's another guy. It's like, okay, he's good, but how good has he been? Who's he fought? I mean, they both beat RDA. Is RDA a guy that you put a check mark? Like, yes, I beat this guy. So it's tough, but I think that Colby and Burns is the fight to make to play something to make something happen, and then the winner of that maybe face Masvidal should get the next title for me. I don't know personally.
He should, depending what he wants. Now he apparently wants the Nate fight, which I don't really think that makes any sense.
Why would you do that again?
I didn't really. Nothing showed me that Nate had a chance, even if it was going to go those championship rounds. So Masvidal looked fresh, so there's no point of that going down. So I do see that's the next potential fight. And like you said, the Colby, that's a good matchup, because if Colby takes him to the ground, we're going to see the high level jiu-jitsu game of Burns. And like Burns and Colby striking are very, very even. You know, it's not the most impressive striking.
No, I think Colby is. I mean, he's a good boxer.
Good boxer, but more cardio. More like he bases his cardio more than his actual technique and
that's
skill.
A good point. Yeah, he's a grinder.
Yeah,
he comes. That makes sense. He comes at you hard. He goes. He's always pushing. So does Burns. But yeah, that fight, if it goes to the ground, then Burns. I mean, Colby's jiu-jitsu isn't that bad. His wrestling is great. That's a good matchup to have too. So I think if you want to play it out, if I put my commissioner's hat on, I go Masvidal championship. Then you got Leon Edwards and Wonder Boy.
Yeah.
And then you get Burns and Colby. I think those are the next 3 fights to make, and then you place it from there. So I don't know if you've been paying attention. John Jones and Dana White have been going after each other on Twitter. John Jones apparently has vacated his title. He's taken the bones out of his name. He just wants to be known as John Jones. It's a lot of he said, she said. So Jones wanted a little bit more money to fight a super fight against Francis Ngannou, who could potentially murder him. And Dana White is saying he's asking for too much money, and it's in classic Dana White fashion, you know.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's all respect to John. If there's anything, anything you're looking at the situation, you're looking at John's an animal, because John's next to, he said, is either I want to fight Izzy, which is that fight is gonna sell. It's an amazing fight. 100%. It's gonna be insane. Or he's gonna fight Francis, a guy like you said, like Francis could kill him. Like if Francis hits one, like John Jones. First of all, it's not like John was going to heavyweight and fight like like a random guy, maybe like a Chinny Overeem, like try to get into the heavyweight, like try to get in there. No, you know what? I'm gonna go to heavyweight. I'm gonna fight the number 1 killer of the roster, and and pay me the same amount of money you're gonna pay me. No, go to heavyweight, fight the most deadliest guy on not just heavyweight division, the whole roster.
Yeah.
But give the guy some money. Give him that $30 million. Give him that Deontay Wilder money for sure. And the fact that Jones is asking for this now is that, look at Arthur, look at Chandler. What does Chandler make? He's like, what, the highest paid defenseman with Arizona, got $100 million or something crazy like that?
Yeah.
Like John is seeing his brothers making this kind of cash, where John has been the champion since he's been 21, and 23.
He's making like, let's say $5 million a fight from what he's saying, plus sponsorships and whatever it is. Yeah, I think he probably makes about $10 million a fight. But John Jones, for the amount of what he's done for the sport and how much he's killed everybody, he for sure deserves a lot more. The only reason I would say that the UFC doesn't really feel the need to pay him is because of what John's been doing outside of the octagon. And it's like, are we going to pay this guy who's made all these mistakes and not pay somebody else who hasn't made any mistakes? It's like, what do we do? You know, but then he can say, well, you pay Connor a lot more than you pay me, and he's a fuck up outside the octagon too. So it's tough, man, because they're in a tough position where John Jones holds all the cards. Basically, he can just say, I don't want to fight anymore, and say, fuck this shit. Because who's he going to fight in the light heavyweight? He's going to fight Dominic Reyes again or Jan Blachowicz. For him, like, it's not a payday. It's not going to be a huge pay-per-view. He wants Ngannou. I think everybody wants to see him fight Ngannou. Dana White's going to make the money that he gave John Jones. On top of that, he's going to make a lot more. So I don't see the issue other than it sets a precedent for other fighters to just ask for more money and get it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it plays out to that factor, but more to John, because John is, he's gotten the credentials. He's risking his career. He's risking it for actual contenders, and like no disrespect to Reyes and Jan, but we don't want to see that those are not guys that are on the level of John.
Yeah.
Like Francis, that's a level. Izzy, that's a level. Stipe, that's a level. DC, these are the type of guys where like, okay, this is where we could, It's like an example like Nunes and Spencer this weekend. Like we look at Nunes and Spencer, like all right, let's see Nunes knock her out. You know what I mean? Like when we saw like John against Reyes, like we knew, okay, John. Okay, then Reyes won a round, 2 rounds, maybe 3. I was like, ooh, that's. But for John, like, what's that risk? What's this risk against these no names? Where let me just put the bar higher. Let me risk it a bit more. Train harder, train smarter, and you see the best John. The best John is the guy who is motivated. That's always been like, look at him against Chael, him against Gus the second time, him against DC. Like, look at motivated John rather than like the other John where he faced like those like like Reyes and other guys like that
OSP,
where
and they looked a little weird.
No, that wasn't John. This motivated John was like Machida, Shogun. These was like whoa, this
legacy
guy,
fights.
Yeah, that's a freak John. So imagine getting that against Francis with the Francis right now, like. And now we see some like hiccups with Francis. His chin is out. He's risking.
Yeah.
Imagine with John. Like maybe what could John do? Take him down, submit him. Like
I don't know if he can submit him. I think he's way too big to submit. But a lot of people say John Jones he's like a super freak in terms of how strong he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody says it.
Yeah. And for him to out wrestle DC at moments, and DC is probably the best wrestler on the card and on the roster, John Jones is the best fighter we've seen in a long time, for sure. And I think he deserves that shot to Francis Ngannou. I hope they can get it done, but Dana White doesn't really cave that easy. And now John Jones said that I'm sure I can get this money elsewhere, so I'll just take me out of my contract. And you know what? It's true. If he goes to Bellator will pay him whatever he wants.
Hey, man, if he goes to Bellator, then that's a great rematch with him and Ryan Bader from back in the day.
Oh, yeah,
Bader's a 2-division champion. So that makes sense. That's a fun fight.
Yeah.
Bellator pay for that. Or hey, let's go to Asia. Let's go to one championship where you have Brandon Vera, UFC fighter, current champion. Like those are fun fights too. Like
I like Brandon Vera. I've always liked him. He's not that same caliber.
No, is he gonna like that fight's gonna sell? And Asia, the market in Asia is
huge.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's ridiculous. So for John, like you said, it just makes sense for him. Is that it's all the cards. Okay, if you don't want to pay him, all right, I'm out. I'm going somewhere else, and he's gonna get that money.
Yeah.
Now it's just that the UFC is that big, it's the biggest stage. We're gonna miss John, but then, and for me, I kind of like that. I like when it's everything branched out. Like when Rory went to Bellator, now he's in PFL. I like that everybody's like, okay, UFC is not just the only thing. There's PFL, there's Bellator, there's so much more that you could branch out with. That you don't have to just watch UFC. MMA is not just UFC. MMA is everything. So. That'd be just good for the sport in general.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page here. I mean, I want to see more fights, and if in 2 months I can see Ngannou and Jones fight, and that same Saturday night, maybe I can watch the Habs versus the Penguins in the playoffs. That'd be a good night for me for sure. Okay, so we got the UFC 250s coming up this weekend, like you mentioned. Amanda Nunes, champion, double champ. Well, I think she relinquished her bantamweight, right?
I'm not sure about. I don't think so, but
maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. So she's fighting Felicia Spencer, Canadian girl, at 8-1. Felicia Spencer, good fighter. She's good on the ground. Boxing is a little suspect. She's going against the Lioness, Amanda Nunes. What do you think is going to happen there?
The only reason why this fight kind of makes sense is that Felicia Spencer is a natural 145. She actually cuts the weight to hit 145, so that's like something a bit newer for Amanda to go with. But like Spencer lost against Cyborg, a 5-round bout, and yes, that was a Cyborg after the Nunes fight. So if you can beat like a downward Cyborg, like Nunes is just it's unstoppable unless you could take that weight and drag her to the cage and drag the cardio. That's the only thing I could see with Spencer is that take the weight, go against the cage, make it dirty, make it disgusting for the first, second, third round, and then get Amanda to the 4th and 5th where she's tired, and then maybe try to win it in that ugly fashion. But besides that, I only see Nunes dominating, and these fights is I see either a finish or just Amanda domination, 5 rounds.
I think it's gonna be a first. Fight. I think it's gonna be a first round KO.
Should be.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking about what she did to Cyborg and how quickly she did it. Mm-hmm. Cyborg even caught her, and she stumbled a bit, but she still stayed on her feet, and she was able to knock out Cyborg.
Yeah.
Spencer, maybe her chin's a little bit better, but she's not as powerful as Cyborg is. I don't think she'll
No.
ever be able to rock Nunes. So for her, I think that if Nunes comes out right away against like she did against Cyborg, it'll
Yeah.
end very quickly. Very quickly.
Yeah,
I
for sure.
really think Nunes is probably third pound for pound best fighter in the world.
I feel that when she wins this, or if she wins this, anything's possible. But she should just retire. There's no point. She's defending the 145. She's defending the 135.
She's
And
beaten
the only thing she could
Rousey.
do is go. Yeah, the only thing she could do is, which is impossible, I think, is going to 125. I don't think she
No,
has
she's too
that
big.
ability to cut.
Yeah,
So
she's too big.
if you're not going for a third, then just what's the point? You're the best ever done it, and I think you made enough money, and I think after this is said and done, probably you probably get a job somewhere in the UFC. You're gonna be getting these deals, already on the Modelo. She's on that commercial. Every time you see Modelo, it's her
Yeah,
now.
it's her,
So
yeah.
like, she's doing what she's got to do. That's right. Obviously,
marketable.
so it's after this fight, just
I hope
go.
she doesn't retire. She's pretty much the only, not the only thing. There's a lot of good fights. Shevchenko, Joanna's always entertaining. But in terms of women in the UFC, I think she's like the most entertaining fighter.
Yeah, for sure.
And I hope she sticks around. But yeah, it's a smart move for her to retire. She has her legacy fights in Rousey, Holm, and Cyborg. She's beaten everybody else. She's avenged all her losses. There's nothing holding her back, and she can retire on top.
Yeah.
But she's also, you can tell she just wants to fight all the time, and I think she'll have another couple fights in her. But yeah, I don't think she'll cut to 125. It's not. It won't happen.
No.
135 is already a hard enough cut. So then we have two bantamweights. We'll only cover these ones. We have two bantamweight fights. Rafael Susawa against Cody Garbrandt, sick fight. And then you have Aljamain Sterling versus Corey Sandhagen, another sick fight.
Really good.
We'll start with the Susawa Garbrandt fight. What do you think?
So Sansao is obviously always that guy in the top 5. He's always been there, even with the TJ fights. He's his jiu-jitsu is sick.
Unbelievable.
But Cody, Cody is. I always loved Cody, and those last 3 losses, obviously 2 guys that were on PEDs. His style of fighting at that moment, he kind of abandoned the game plan and just wanted to slug it out. Now he's with Mark Henry, and that's the best move because alpha males like more. He was always fighting with his boys. He's sparring with his boys, wrestling with his boys. Wasn't really fundamentally sound with a head coach. Now you got Mark Henry. Look at Mark Henry's track record. Look at all the guys he has in Barboza, Edgar, Marlon. Like Mark Henry is a sound guy. He has a game plan, and he's going to structure Cody because Cody has all the skills.
Yeah.
Now it's just getting his mind right on. Okay, this is the game plan. Let's follow it and just do what you do. Don't get into a brawl. Don't get in the pocket and just wing for the best. That's not the kind of style fight you want. If Cody comes back, man, I would see Cody.
Oh, for sure, yeah. If it's the Cody we saw against Cruz, for sure I'll say Cody. But Asunsao's coming off 2 losses. One of them to Corey Sandhagen, the other one to Marlon Moraes, who's a teammate of Cody, obviously. So there's going to be some inside information there. I love Asunsao, and I think he's awesome. The only thing is coming off of 2 losses, coming against a guy, Cody Garbrandt, also coming off of 2 losses. It's not ideal, but it also sets up a crazy fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think this fight's probably going to be fight of the night. Well, I hope it is anyway. Actually, Cody's coming off of 3 losses. I didn't even realize that.
The back-to-back TJ, yeah.
The back-to-back TJs, and then Pedro Munoz, the KO. Yeah. So Cody is the guy. We spoke about this a couple weeks ago. Cody is the guy to me. I was so excited for him, And when he won that belt, I'm like, fuck, this is the guy, And then he loses to TJ, whatever. He loses to TJ again, whatever.
Yeah.
This is his bounce-back fight. If he doesn't win this one, I think that he won't be able to recover. 4 losses in a row at the top. How are you going to be able to crack? There's all these young guys up there. So I think this is the fight. It's make it or break it for Cody, this one. Asunsao is going to be there. He's always going to be fighting the 5, 6, 7, 8. He's always fighting that range. But Cody's a high-level fighter. He won't be able to fight the bottom guys.
No, and this is a resurgence, too, because now the 135 is vacant. I know they're doing the Aldo Peter Yan fight to make a title, but now it's open. There's no champ. Everything's open. So it doesn't even matter that we'll get with the Sterling fight too. I'm not whoever has a better performance. The rankings don't even count anymore. If Cody goes and knocks him out and Sterling wins in decision, well, guess what? Cody's probably gonna get the title fight. he's gonna get the next shot, and vice versa, right? If even a Sansao like knocks out Cody, a Sansao is gonna get the number one contender spot. It's just the matters that night is the performance and if you get the finish.
So we also have Aljamain Sterling fighting against Corey Sandhagen. Corey Sandhagen is coming off a win against Rafael Sansao. He's trying to crack that. He's trying to get a title shot too. Aljamain Sterling was calling for a title shot with Cejudo. It looked like it might happen. He's coming off of 4 wins. His last loss was to Marlon Moraes. He's coming off of a decision against Pedro Munoz and Jimmy Rivera, 2 sick fighters.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting fight for me. Very interesting.
Well, Sterling again. I'm pretty. He's with Ray Longo. Very good camp on that point. But Cody, man, this is like the guy that is young. He's hungry. He's hitting that echelon of maybe that high caliber. This is a good matchup for him. And Sterling, Sterling kind of like sits back. He's a great wrestler, long range. But I find he still didn't hit that plateau of a top 3 and a number 1 contender spot. Like if he could do something here, then Sterling's there. Obviously, he's an amazing dude. Spoke with him a couple of times. He's awesome, but he just has to get his mind right. And this is the moment. This is the night where it's kind of like that competition. It's like what we see like in playoff football. Your team is playing. You got to win this game, or this team loses. Like, oh, what's the score in that game? It's like it's kind of the same thing. Like you got to finish. So the Cody fight, like, okay, what happened? He didn't finish. Now we're in. It's kind of like that. So Sterling has to like step up. This is his moment, and this is a very good fight. Honestly, I would side a bit more with Cody because we're gonna kind of see. We don't know how he is in this kind of situation. I think maybe his wrestling might be a factor. I think so. He's gonna surprise a lot of people, but we can't sleep on Sterling too. He's very smart and. Probably it's his last run for this. He's getting up there in age, and he knows where he is. He knows about the timing, and comes from a great camp too. So, like I said, it goes vice versa with Cody, Sansao, Cody, and like it's fun, man. It's fun for a night, and it goes back to back too, right? Sterling, then it's Cody, so it's fun.
Hopefully, none of them get COVID and they cancel the fight. I mean, I hope it happens. We'll see, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I guess we'll talk after the fights. Saturday night this week, UFC 250, Amanda Nunes versus Spencer for the bantamweight. Is the
featherweight. 145.
For the featherweight.
That's what you know. She's a champion at everything. Like, you don't even know.
That's it. I'm like, which one is she defending today? Thanks, Emilio, for coming on, buddy. I appreciate it. We'll post this up probably tonight, and then we'll be ready tomorrow.
Awesome, brother.
Have a good one, buddy.
You too.